Pretty much 2 years to the day, me and my wife bought a duplex here in Cairns in the suburb of Erville. Now, in that 2 years, a lot has changed in the local market. We had the Rona come through, and the market conditions have drastically shifted. Today, I want to share, without giving away the end story, just how we managed to double our initial deposit into this property and what that property looks like today. Now, the reason I want to share this story is not to brag and boast, but to give you some insights into what I was looking for 2 years ago with this deal and the payoff of that deal 2 years later. So I think it's a really good example to look at, as this property isn't unlike deals that can be found in the market at the moment in Cairns. And if you are looking to buy, I think now's just as good a time as ever to get into the market and secure a property like this one. So as you know, I do love a spreadsheet, so I want to run through this spreadsheet with you, as it does give you some really good ideas on this property that we did buy and gives you a look at the numbers that we were looking at the time, plus show you some photos of what the property looks like so that you get a bit of an idea of what we were hunting, and hopefully it helps you with your search. So let's jump into it and have a look. Before I jump into the spreadsheet, I just want to give you a bit of a quick overview of what this property looked like. So it was a duplex, so essentially two bed, one bath units with a single car park on each side. It was a red brick veneer, 600 square metre block, essentially nothing really special or fancy, but a nice solid little rental. So the only real difference we did on the outside of the property was we did fence across this front yard and down the middle, so that each side had its own private yard per se and was responsible for its own private area. So this is the outside. Kitchen was nothing flash, it's just a basic little kitchen. Had vinyl flooring throughout, 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom, and the other side was pretty much just a mirror image of this. So both sides were pretty much the same, but gives you a bit of an idea of what we actually purchased before we jump into the numbers. First thing I want to point out, when you're looking at any property, it's easy to get romantic and really start to fall in love with the property versus falling in love with the numbers. So if you can, it's really important to be able to actually spreadsheet the deal, and then that way you can compare apples to apples rather than apples to oranges, or roses, or anything else for that matter. So if you really can break it down to the numbers, include what maintenance needs to be done, include it in your numbers on the property, you're going to be able to compare one to the other so much more easily than if you were just going on the feel of a property. So this duplex we bought, we settled on it back in the October 2019, so 2 years ago. And I think we went to contract on it pretty much 2 years to the day. I think it was the 5th of September that we went to contract on it. And this property had been on the market for a little while. It wasn't like we picked it up under market value, picked it up at some sort of crazy bargain. I think we paid a pretty fair, reasonable market price back then for it. So we paid $365,000 for the property. It cost us about 12.5 grand in stamp duty and fees. We spent about 5,000 on renovations, and in total the property cost us 382,500 to purchase. Now, the actual deposit for that, we actually pulled equity out of another property. We didn't save the 90,000. We used money that we had tied up in another renovation project that we did, and used that money for the deposit. But you could go and save the 90,000, or you could use a combination of savings and equity to get to that deposit that was needed. So for these sums, we are working it out that we used a deposit of 90,500. Even though we didn't actually put that amount into the property, we did use equity out of an existing property to finance it. So in total, we ended up borrowing the complete amount, so 382,500 for this purchase. Like I say, back in 2019, this wasn't a below market deal. It was a good buy, but it wasn't anything exceptional. And I very much believe, even though you might be paying slightly higher prices for properties today, I think these deals still exist in the Cairns property market. So to work out the income, so for this year, year of 2021, essentially our total outgoings for the property will be 6,880. So that's our water, our insurance, and our council rates. Obviously, work for a real estate, we're not paying management fees. The borrowing costs on the property is in a fixed term mortgage, and we pay 3.4% on that mortgage. Bear with me as that keeps going back to, let's do that as a number, 3.4% on that mortgage. And as interest only, let's bear with me 2 seconds as we play with our spreadsheet. 3.4%. So as an interest only loan, that loan costs us $13,000 per annum to service and meet the interest. So that brings our total outgoings to just over 21,000 or thereabouts. We'll get to that in a second. The property currently rents for $700 per week. Now, when we first bought this property, it was renting for $640, so we have upped the rents from $640 to $700, and that gives us an income of $36,400. As with any investment property, it's important to get a depreciation schedule. So that is a tax write-off essentially, and that this property saves us about $400 a year in tax. So it's important to include that in on your income statements when you're working out your numbers. So the net income from this property, our expenses are just under $20,000. We've got an income of $36,000, and that leaves us almost $17,000 a year that this property is positively geared. So it's making $17,000 per year, or $325 a week. So this is a duplex. It's 2 units, essentially 2 bed, 1 bath each side. Each side rents for $350, giving a combined $700 per week income. Like I say, these deals still exist in Cairns, so it's not like it's a rarity and it's not like it's a unicorn deal. These deals do pop up from time to time. And this property, like I say, is generating us essentially $325 a week income. So from there, that's the income side of it. That was why we bought the property. We bought the property because it had a strong rental yield, and we weren't actually too concerned about capital growth. If it happened, that was going to be a really, really nice bonus. So as much as we didn't account for capital growth, and it wasn't really the reason why we bought this property, of course, capital growth does occur in areas of high demand, and that's what we're seeing at the moment. So to fast forward 2 years after we bought the property, and to look at the capital growth side of things, we paid $382,500 for the property. We put in essentially $90,000, which we used equity from another property, but we tied up $90,000 into the property. And we just had a valuation done on this property at $480,000. So essentially, it's up $115,000 on the purchase price, but taking into account our fees and GST, not GST, our fees and stamp duty of the purchase, our total gain from the capital gains point of view is $97,500. During the 2 years of ownership, though, we have been getting that rental positive geared income of another $33,000. So combined, we've made $131,000 off this property in just 2 years. So that is a really quite a staggering number for a property that wasn't, $1 million property in Sydney. It isn't some luxury mansion in Byron Bay. It's just a humble little duplex here in Cairns, and we managed to make $131,340 from that property. We will continue to hold on to that as it will continue to generate rental income, and the way the market is tracking here in Cairns, it is likely that it'll be worth even more come tomorrow and the day after. So on our investment of $90,500, the video title, the thumbnail on this video wasn't clickbait. Essentially, we have more than doubled that money. We've turned that $90,000 into $131,340, or made 145% return on our investment, or 72% per annum. So like I said at the start, I didn't do this video to brag. I simply wanted to do this video to inspire and give you a bit of an idea of what we were looking for in a deal and how that deal played out 2 years later. So that is, we turned a $90,000 investment, and we made an extra $131,000 on that, or essentially made 145% of what we put into it. So there you have it. That gives you a bit of a summary of what we were looking for in this deal, how it played out 2 years later, and gives you some really good idea on the numbers.